Today we're going to be covering the spinning wheel of death begone. This is primarily for cleaning out our project or cleaning out a coordination model. My name is Michael Echave. I'm an AEC Technical Specialist here at ATG USA. We'll be talking about CTC tools, primarily one tool called the Project Cleaner. It is actually a free tool, so you can download it today for free. You can get the whole suite, and we'll talk about that once we get into Revit. But let's move forward and talk about our description. So Revit coordination files grow in both size and complexity throughout the design process. Large projects full of unwanted content, extraneous information can lead to slower speeds in your model and in some cases corrupted files. And today we will talk and walk through the process of cleaning up your coordination model, saving you hours of time. We are going to be able to save these selections so we don't have to go through and select some of these items with an already efficient process. We're going to make it even more efficient again. And we're going to fix the issue of having slower models because of unnecessary content, either from what we have in our own model, right? We all have those maybe 1 through 100 section views that we use to design in our model, and we don't realize the impact that it's actually taking on our model and add additional size to our models. Or maybe it's a rendering, right? We keep our rendering in our project rather than linking it in. How do we know if it's in our project or it's linked in, right? You can find it easily with the project cleaner. Or maybe we have a coordination model, right? So we're receiving coordination model. I come from a structural design background. I receive an architectural model. And I want to coordinate and set that and link that into my Revit model as an underlay, right? So I can start my design basis. And they have a large file size. They have more renderings, more views than probably what I would have. And I need to clean all of that out to reduce that file size. Because when I'm linking that project in and I open up a view where that Revit file is, it's going to load all of that file size, creating that maybe sometime instance of the spinning wheel of death where we're sitting here waiting for it to load. Oh no, did we save it? It may crash. We may need to do a Control-Alt-Delete to just crash the system and end the task so we can just get back into it and start where we hopefully last saved 30 minutes ago or something, whatever your regular save time is in Revit, right? So let's talk about our objectives here today. So what we're going to be learning is organizing and cleaning your project in a couple easy steps. We're going to reduce incoming and outgoing file sizes, and we're going to change the time you spend on repetitive tasks. Now, I recommend this tool for not an everyday user. This tool is specifically going to be used for a BIM admin type role or BIM manager type role, cleaning out the projects, because it can be detrimental to your project if you get someone that doesn't know what they're doing with this and they start to remove all of your views within this project. Now, are you going to cover anything on BIM 360 team cloud servers? We have a few models that are slow to open and use, and we have also purged and deleted views many times, but the file size is large with other files on LinkedIn. So again, LinkedIn files, BIM 360, you may not be able to control their file because it isn't BIM 360 and that's where they're publishing it to. You may want to save it down to your network and linking in. That way then you can reduce the file sizes so we can maybe address some of it, but my plan wasn't to go into BIM 360. It's specifically to use this tool. And then maybe if you're able to see a workflow that specifically works well with this, Brett, then you can apply it to there as well. So let me talk about Revit file sizes and what and how does our computer process information. If we saw at the beginning here, I had a little show off of the BIM boxes. I'm currently running off a laptop, the Striker. I don't remember the model specifically, but it's a very efficient laptop that I have that it's powerful enough to process a lot of information. And sometimes maybe we don't have that ability to have that strong of a desktop, right? So we need to talk about how does the computer process information? Where should we be looking at? Should we be looking at different hardware, right? If you didn't know, ATG, again, we sell BIM boxes and we sell hardware. So if you want to look in more into that, feel free to reach out to your ATG rep. But let's talk about as a whole how maybe we can mitigate it by reducing the Revit file size, right? So we're not having it crash as much. So let's talk about different sizes of information, right? How does our computer work, right? It works off bytes of information being sent to the CPU. So we have this in terms of kilobytes, which is bytes of information, right? The way we are coding, so zeros and ones. Then you have 1024 bytes equals a kilobyte. Then you have megabytes, 1024 kilobytes, and then you have a gigabyte. So 1 gigabyte equals 1024 megabytes. Then you have a terabyte, which is 1024 gigabytes, right? So we're talking about file storage size, right? This gives us some more information. If we're going and looking at our Revit files, what are we looking at when we're seeing that size, right? And how does our computer process this information? So when we're thinking about processing or putting in anything in our keyboard, hitting or clicking the mouse, even changing into a different Revit view, we have to be aware of what information is being processed, right? Even with the click of our mouse, it's inputted, right? So as we see here, we have the keyboard for input. It then goes and sends this information to the CPU for it to process. The CPU will then ask for a step-by-step calculation from our RAM, so our random access memory. Then that random access memory is going to send it directly back to our CPU, and then our CPU is going to output it directly to us on what we see here. So we need to be aware that RAM may solve some of our issues, but majority of our issues may lie within our Revit files themselves. We can also talk about the graphics card, what we're seeing visually, right? But more so, we're just talking about more of the Revit file sizes. And what I like to look at is we don't want to see over 300 megabytes during our DD or schematic phase, because then we're kind of seeing something happening here that we should address. What should we be removing? What is in our model that's making it that large during our DD phase? We're not even talking about our CD sets yet that we're going to be creating in Revit. So that's kind of a good gauge that I like to look at. 300 megabytes is where I want to stay around before I start addressing some issues. I want to stay below that 300 megabyte realm. And some items we can do that to help us be more efficient in our file sizes is remove views, remove some view templates, maybe some filters, some sheets, links, or important images, especially when we're receiving a coordination model, right? We don't need to have all of those elements in our Revit file that they're linking in. We need to have a very bare bone Revit file that's coming in that just has their model that we're using for coordination. We don't need to see any of their views, any of their sheets, any of their filters, any of their links, any of their images. So I'll run through that step, and that's going to come from more of a structural design background because that is my background primarily. Receiving an architectural model, but we'll also talk about just how to clean our model and make it healthy as well. Again, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to ask. So we're going to go right into Revit here because I don't believe in death by PowerPoint. I'm going to go right into Revit. First, I'm going to talk about cleaning up our own model. So I'm going to come from the structural design background. And as you saw right there earlier, I also had the architectural model, and we'll talk about cleaning it up as well. But currently, right now, we're going to be talking about CTC tools and how they work within our interface. So up here in the ribbon, you'll have the CTC software ribbon. That'll come when you start to install any of your CTC suites. And right now I have 3 different suites open. So I have the BIM batch suite, which are these purple icons. And then I have the CTC BIM manager suite, which are these blue icons, the CTC BIM project suite. And project suite is more recommended a user. As I said earlier, project cleaner would probably be used more as the BIM admin or BIM manager role, because it can be detrimental to your model. So you want to be aware of that. But right here we have, again, the BIM Manager Suite. So just like any panel we have within Revit, I can drag it out or redock it if you wanted to. It's completely up to you. You can have it on your second screen. And we have some different colors within these suites themselves, right? We have lighter blue or darker green and lighter green. So these lighter color icons are free tools. So if you download your 14-day free trial, you get the full access to all of the tools. And then after those 14 days, you have the full access no matter what to all of the light color icons. And today specifically, we're going to be going over the project cleaner. So I'm going to re-bring this back up here, just drag it and dock it. And we're going to be covering project cleaner. So again, we're going to be covering how do I clean out my own project, right, as I'm starting to run through it. Now, usually the old way of doing this in the very cumbersome way is going through, oops, it didn't like when I switched that. So the old way would be going through and looking through all of our views, deciding to delete all of them out, having to figure out, okay, was this one even placed on a sheet? How do we know that this one wasn't being used, right? So as we go through this, this is a very cumbersome way. We want to be more efficient at this because we all dread the task of looking through what we have to remove. So simply, all I have to do is go up to the project cleaner here. And from the project cleaner, I can go through and see under options what has been placed on a sheet or what hasn't. Now, this is going to help me remove anything that's not on a sheet, that's not actively going to be used. So then I know I can delete it. Now, if you are the BIM admin or BIM manager and you are not working directly on the project, I would suggest when you run through this that you tell everyone, hey, please name your sheets, because if they're not named, please name your views, not sheets, views. I'm probably going to delete everything that doesn't have a name associated to it because I would probably guess that it's not going to be used. So right here under the options under your project cleaner, again, free tool, you download it, you'll always have it. You can go up here to the options area, and specifically for my personal project cleanup, I'm going to see what is on a sheet or used. When I hit this, I will be able to see different views here. So now I can see what sheets we have and what are specifically on those sheets, or I use this tab specifically not in a sheet, okay? So now from here, I can see what is not on a sheet. And if I had any images, renderings too, I could go through here and look at those as well and see, okay, maybe those, we could go through here and go to type, and change this view a little bit and see, okay, so were any of these views, I don't have any rendering specifically in this model, so I can't give you a reference, but I could go through here and see, it's not linked here, and there's no images here either, so we should probably remove this and save it out and look at it that way. The other one, again, is, oops, I hit purge, I apologize. 1 second. Yes, you can purge directly from that interface as well. And it brings up your native purge, which we'll talk about in a second. But again, going back to the options, selecting on the sheets, now I can go directly to here. And maybe this is something that happens all of the time, right? We're creating all of these sections and I need to save this out later on. But from here, again, we have these sections that are not named, and these were probably used to help the designer draft, right? So as I go through here, I'd probably want to delete all of these out to help speed up that process of processing information from my hardware, right? Because then it doesn't have to worry about all of this information that we're putting into our project. So again, down here, deleting anything that I wanted out. And then again, from here, I see what's not on a sheet. Oh, there's some 3D views. I don't even need to go through the fan out view. I always recommend that you probably go through the fan out view. Why? Because you want to make sure that they're actually named. What if you select one that is named and it's going to be placed onto a sheet at some point? You probably don't want to delete it because someone may be very mad at you if you do it that way. So I can go through here and delete all of these items and simply just hit remove. I can also see any of my view templates that I don't want to use. So any view templates that were not used, I don't need any of this information stored in my project because they're not being used. I can simply hit the check button here and select it. And again, once I'm done, I will hit remove. I can also go to any filters. Do I have any selection filters here or any parameter filters here that I wanted to go through and select and remove out? Any of the sheets that maybe I don't need either now, I can go through and remove any of these. Any links that have been associated to here, also any imports that have been brought in. So we can see here there's a lot of imports in here, and I can go through and remove specific imports or all of them if you wanted to, or any images. Again, this is a structural design, so I don't have many images saved in here. Actually, I have none, so not many. And you can go in here and remove any of those as well. And maybe this is something that happens all of the time, right? This repetitive task that we always have to go through and we always dread. I can simply go up here and say save and save it somewhere. and then come back and reload that selection set, and it's going to automatically select them for us. Then I can go here and hit remove. I can even purge from this window right here directly, allowing me to go into here and select through items that I can purge. This is our native purge that we have within Revit, and I can exit out of here again. So this is more of our project cleanup with our individual projects as we're just having them. This is also good if we're sending out our model, right? So if we want to send this out for coordination, now I'm not saying receiving yet, we'll talk about receiving in a little bit, but if I wanted to send this model out for coordination and I didn't want any of my proprietary content from any of my sheets, maybe there are some details on the sheets that I didn't want anyone else to have. Maybe we have our, for this example, structural design, maybe we have our PE stamp in there, right? And we don't want that to be going out. We could have all this removed from directly here and just say, you know what, actually, I'm going to go to any of the types here, and then I'm going to go down and remove anything that I want out from here. I can also go down to my sheets and say, you know what, I don't want any of my sheets because this has all of my information on it. And I can remove all of these elements and all of these items from my project before I even send it out for coordination. So again, this is also a helpful tip if we're trying to send it out. And we can save the selection. Maybe again, we're always sending out 30%, 50%, 75% sets, right? For our DD sets, we can have this saved so we don't have to rerun it every single time. That's very helpful. And again, with any of the CTC tools, you can always go up to this video button here. And if I don't cover it in depth enough and you're like, hey, I don't remember what this did or how he did this, you can always go to the video here and it'll show you a quick video on how to use this specific tool. Great, so now we just cleaned our own project. We're reducing that file size. We're reducing the amount of times we have that spinning wheel of death happening. And now we can move forward. The other item that could be leading to that issue is a linked file, right? So we're receiving a linked model directly from our coordination team, and it's a larger file size. Now that larger file size definitely takes an impact on our own model, even though it is linked, because again, whenever we're opening up a view that has that reference linked, it has to load that entire file size. So I'm going to show you an example here. I'm actually going to go to my file explorer to show you the file size that I already have open and the one that's saved currently. So I'm going to go to this architectural model here. And the one I have opened, I saved it a little bit earlier before we entered, into this webinar so we can see it. I opened up the coordination model. So me being the structural designer, received the coordination model from the architect. They actually had work sets enabled. So this was a central model here. I opened it up, detached it, and it saved me some file size. So if we remember from the beginning, we talked about kilobytes to megabytes. Kilobytes to megabytes, and then megabytes to gigabytes to terabytes, right? So right here we have 273,000, give or take or so, kilobytes, which equals 273 megabytes. So we're almost reaching that 300 megabyte phase, right? I personally know that this model is actually a CD set, so it's already finished. So that is completely fine for that file size. But I don't want that large file linked into my model, right? I want to reduce that file size so that it is not that more impactful again when I'm modeling in my own model, when I'm opening up a view that references their model, right? So even just detaching it here saved me about 10 or so, give or take again, megabytes, right? I know it says kilobytes here. I'm just doing the conversion really quickly. Give or take a couple, right? That is not efficient enough in my opinion. I want more. So what I usually see when I do this model cleanup or project cleaner and run it, I see around a 75% reduction in file size. And now you're like, come on, Mike, you're pulling my leg. I don't believe you. That's okay. We're going to go through and run this. So again, this is the one I have saved. It's already open right here. I can resave it, but we all see that it is the name for it right here, detached. It's the same naming convention that I had specifically for this one. I can even save as here if you wanted to. And we'll see the drastic change in also file saving sizes when we're going through here as well. So I can go from here and I can go to save project as here, and I'm going to save it as this one. And we'll see how long it does take to save it. It takes a little while for the larger file size. Oh, I'm overriding it, so it didn't take a while. I'm sorry. When you're resaving it as a new one, it takes a little bit. So it's saved as, right? We're going to go through and run this project cleaner. So what I'm going to go through here is going to go to project cleaner here. I'm going to go through and run this and delete some of these items that I don't need. So again, from right here, all I have to do is go through and either A, reload my selection, which would be pretty boring if I did that. So what is the difference between purge and remove? So purge is going to remove any unused elements in our project. That's the same purge that we use in Revit. Remove is actually removing things that are being used, maybe, meaning views, sections, right? So if we all know purge natively from Revit here, these are purging unused elements that are in our project, right? Such as line styles, um, wall types, text types, right? So as we go through here, those are what those are removing from that aren't being used. Or like, let's say for an instance, I don't use a W10 by 20 and I load it into my project. This purge is going to remove some of those elements, right? What we're doing here in project cleaners, we're actually physically removing things from the project that are being used currently, such as views, right? Me as a structural designer, I don't need all of their views. I just need some of their floor plan views, maybe to reference within the views that I'm going to be designing from on my basis. I don't need any of these other items. So actually, let me check all and deselect ones because whatever's checked is going to be removed. I don't want some of these floor plans to be removed because I'm going to design from those. But everything else I do not need. I do not need their schedules. I do not need their legends. I don't need any of their 3D views, any of their detail views to do my design work in. I don't need any of their view templates. I don't need any of their filters. I don't need any of their sheets because again, I have a saved model that was not detached that I can go and grab sheets from, right? I'm just talking about the model that I'm linking into my project. You should always have the original one they sent you for coordination. And then you should have this second one that you're using to link in for yours. Just their physical model is what I want to reference, right? I don't need any of their links. So again, I can check all of these. I can go to any of their imports, any of their images. I don't need any of these. And all I have to do here is just say remove. So it's telling me it's removing 213 views, 57 view templates, 2 filters, 31 sheets, 3 links, and 23 images, okay? It's not going to let me, though, remove this drafting view, so it's going to tell me that at the end. So it says currently active view. Oh, I have it open, so it won't let me remove it. That's fine. I can keep this 2D view open. Doesn't bother me at all. So now that I removed it, all of these items, and again, a matter of seconds, I could have saved my selection before, so meaning I didn't remove them. I saved it, and then I hit remove. That would be your workflow. You would go through, you would select them, you would hit save, then you would come back and reload it again at the next milestone, right? So you run this at the 30% that they sent you, then it's 50%, right? You just simply have to go in here and hit load, figure out where or find where you saved it, and then it's going to automatically already check all of those items, right? Then from here, after we're done, we're going to purge. So we're going to also purge elements out from our project as well. Check all, hit OK. And then again, we all know natively in Revit, you have to hit the purge a couple times because we know it doesn't always remove them out. And I'm going to hit File, Save, right? So I'm going to go File, Save As here. And I'm going to save it as this spinning wheel of death project here so we can see the new file extension here. We'll just do spinning wheel just to save us a little time. So again, we see this detached one, that size. I'm going to hit save. And then from here, it's going to take a very quick time compared to what it took for me to detach and open it. And now I can see this detached one, right? So remember the detached, and I just named it spinning wheel of death, or spinning wheel, sorry, I didn't add the other part. And we can see here that it went from 273 megabytes. We detached it 257 megabytes to 31 megabytes. This is a huge reduction in file size. This is something I want to link into my model now. I'm okay with that. I am not okay with these larger file sizes, right? So that is one way to clean up a coordination model that I'm going to link directly into my project. Now, there's also some other tools that we can use aside from the project cleaner, which was what we were primarily going to cover, but maybe there's some duplicates that we want to go through and remove as well. So you have this thing called the type swapper, and this will allow us to go through, and this is a paid tool out of the CTC Tools BIM Manager Suite here. Again, it's called the type swapper. And what this can also help us do, because there was a question about some other, I guess maybe I read that wrong. There was no question about families yet, but we'll just talk about it. There are times where you have duplicate families, right? And it's hard to navigate and find those duplicate families. We purged this already, and it didn't remove those duplicate families, right? So right here, we can go through and actually see what families are the same duplicate families of the original one. So someone brought in a circular handrail one. So this could have been from bringing in a new family, an additional family or something, and it renamed it as that additional one, right? Or two or three. And what happens, this is the category it'll tell you, and it'll say, what do you want to swap it with? So from here, all I have to do is select what I want to swap it with. It already gives you the selections that match up directly with what it is. And then I can just say swap and check this button down here, and it says delete duplicate families. So it'll automatically swap it and delete the family itself. And I just said all of these right here. I went through and successfully did it and hit OK. And now I have no more duplicate families in here. Now, also you have dimension styles. So now you can go through and do it for dimension styles or text types. So any text types that you have, you can go through here and go through and select any of the text types that you want to remove directly from here or swap them, right? So maybe there is this century Gothic here that's been placed and I want to change the 3 count out to a certain secondary count, right? Or line styles or fill patterns or materials. So you can also do the same things for those as well. And again, if you have any questions or want to watch a quick video on them, you are more than welcome to watch the video as well. Alrighty, let's go back to our PowerPoints here. So we covered a lot of information. We talked about using the project cleaner to help reduce this spinning wheel of death thing that happens maybe because of larger file sizes, right? We use the project cleaner to remove some of our views, some of our sheets, some of our linked elements, images, to kind of do a self-cleaning within our own project and also remove unnecessary items that we wanted to for coordination models, or maybe even sending out for proprietary content, right? Thank you for joining me today and taking your time. I know everyone's time is valuable. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful day.